And good evening, good morning. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den. Everybody's doing well. Here for another quasi impromptu stream. Um, Basically, what I'm trying to do is be able to get the desk cleared off tonight. So I want to, rather than have it all in different pieces, I want one Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder that I can set aside because everything over here in the corner has to get pulled out and will be used tomorrow for Black Box build part 2. Get into the second part of the guide, which I the access. So I will put that notice out tonight after the stream and work on getting this cleaned up in that morning's build. Welcome on in, 491 Phantom and Nick, Vinci, Creatix Brit. Welcome on in. Like I said, it's kind of a short notice, semi-impromptu stream. Just wanting to jump on here and keep things moving so that we can get at least a good stopping point on this part of the project to get it moved aside so that we can get into the. How's everybody doing today? Good? Sweetener and they're definitely going to be. So we've got a few things that we were working on the last stream last night. We broke something. Hey, Lucas Print, how's it going? So we broke something on the last stream. And unfortunately, it wasn't just like something we could work around because it was the actual motor mount plate and the hinge bracket for the motor mount plate. So you will notice, we switch over here, could be this camera, see if we can, a little less one. You will notice that we are all put back together again. I did reprint this part last night and then disassembled it and reassembled it. I did increase this by 100.2%. Just 0.2% a little bit larger. And I realized even doing that the M5 nuts that they put with the kit were still a little bit tight in here. So I knew I had some other M5 lock nuts and I went and grabbed one of those in black. And this one fit in with no problem. And this one was one of the errors from the uh, Annex Engineering team. So that's what I went ahead and did. So this piece is all back together and we're right about where we were when we stopped on stream uh, yesterday, which was at the final assembly. So this is kind of where we're at. We're going to be putting in our whatchamacallit, our M5 by 30 bolts, a couple of lock nuts, and we're going to start getting this mounted, doing our kit. Let's see. 12 link. So it starts off by saying, hey, go ahead and put an M5 nut here, which is what we did. We have our M5 nut already in here from the previous one. That's what it's going to tell us to do. Make sure next is the M5 nut that's in here. So this is the M5 nut that they told us to put in place earlier, but we would actually use it later on in the build. And we've got our M5 by 30, two of them, because we're going to come in one from this side and one. Yeah, it's been a pretty nice build so far. So I'm going to try and match up what I'm seeing with what it's telling me to do. So this would go like this. Okay, this piece would go like this where it's facing me. And then the motor side with our wire coming off to the right is going to go right in here. We'll have a screw that comes in from the front and then one that comes back. So set this in place and we'll just get our piece goes in. Now it's just a case of trying to get holes lined up. So we're holding this in place, taking our M5 by 30, and we're screwing it in through the hinge into the base portion. Okay. Then we're going to have an M5 by 30 that comes in from the other side. So from this side, we'll have the other M5 by 30 coming in. I probably could have reamed these M5 holes out some just to make the screw go in easier, but I'm fine with how it's going in. We're good on that lock nut. And then this is the nice thing. You have the full ability to open this up and work on it. So next up, we check the idler position. So use the two socket M3 by 16 socket head cap screws on the end. So we're going to set this down. We're going to go ahead and open our latches up so it's out of the way. Open my latches up. And we've got 3 locator pins right here. We've got 2 here and 1 here. Those are going to go in divots in the bottom of this part. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this in, kind of set it down over here, and be able to loosen these screws up on the end here so that it might be better to come back over to the other. So we need this end piece to line up and sit flat, and we're kind of close, but what we're going to do is I'm just going to unscrew these M3 by 16 bolts from, which will allow us to adjust the depth of the rods on this side. And we just want to make sure that we're lined up and sitting flush one way or the other. We need to. Okay, and we're sitting nice and flush here. Everything's lined up. So what I'm going to do, so once again, there's locating bumps on the top here, and there's little divots right here. Those are keying together. Want to make sure that those are keying together and everything's lined up. And I'm just going to tighten these M3x16 bolts up until I feel them fit and reach the bars. And then we will latch the latches. The latch comes up, grabs hold of their piece, latch down. Happens on both sides. That part is now nice and good. And these are, like I said, we're just snugging these up against the rods. So that they're not loose and there's just a tiny bit of tension on them. Okay. And now that we've got that done, we've got our side latches on. We need to work on the set screws of this. So we're going to move our selector all the way over. Now I'm noticing I've got a lot of slack in this belt right now. So I am going to cut this down a little bit more just to get some of this excess slack out, which is going to happen in the next step anyhow. So I just need to get a little bit of this excess out of here. And make sure that that belt's fully seated down in the selector piece there. So we're not tight, but we've got rid of a lot of that slack. So now it'll be a little bit easier to move things around. We're going to move our selector all the way over to the motor. And the reason we do that is because now we'll be able to get our height set for our belt a lot easier. And need to turn this around and get our actually that height's pretty darn close to begin with. M2 millimeter. I drop it down just a bit. I'm going to move the selector back and forth, and that's going to help seat that belt and get the alignment good. Just want to make sure that I'm not scraping the belt on the bottom or the top. A little bit low, or we're still riding at the bottom some, so I want to drop this down just a bit. Okay, now we're going to bring this all the way over here to the side, and we're going to take out the side that's away from the flat. We'll put some Loctite on these. Can't remember if we put Loctite on them last night or not. Can everybody hear me, by the way? I'll make sure that we're good. Yeah, so like I said, I've got to get this off the build table tonight, and I'll have to clean out this whole area to be able to work on the black box tomorrow. So I wanted to get this done at least. And maybe even get into cottontail a little bit, but those will be larger components then that I can set to the side. And be bringing black box back up here this evening for tomorrow's stream. Okay, so those are nice and tight and now thread locked. And we're going to need to tighten this belt up. It's way loose. So I'm going to get myself some space here because my belt tensioning is right here. So we should be able to screw this and make it tighter, which will pull our belt tighter. And if we don't have enough length here, then we'll just go ahead and cut our belt another tooth or more shorter. And at this point, it is still not tight enough, and I'm fully tightened. I'm going to have to cut another couple of threads out of my belt. But when I do that, I'm going to make sure and back this out before I do. Because over time, your belt will give a little and stretch. So we want to make sure that we have the ability to continuously tighten it. I'll pull this off or out, and we'll probably cut like 2 more teeth out or valleys. Going to be a nice starting point. I can give us another twist or two and okay, so I like that. Now we need to work on our encoder wires. So our encoder, or the servo wires is what we're really doing here, not the servo wire first. So our servo wire here, we're going to cut the excess wire and connect the servo. You can use DuPont connector, for example. Here, both the servo and encoder wires using a zip tie. What am I seeing? Work on the encoder wires first. Encoder wires was this wire that we had. It was three pins here. So we've got white, red, and black. We just need to make sure that we connect it on the encoder in the right order. I think it's white, red, black. I'm going to have to double check with my phone and use my specs, meaning camera on Zoom, to verify. Yes. So ground is on this side, VCC is in the middle, and then the out is on the left. So we need to understand how our JST connector is going to go in there. That and our black goes on this side. Black, red, and the wires themselves are kind of flimsy. So it's more of not having a stiff wire that you can push in. So I'm going to have to help these in so that they can fully see. Be careful when you do that. Give each tug to make sure that they're not out. So our encoder wire is going to slip into this slot and route all the way around and up here. So this is going to be the fun part. So Lucas, have you put one of these together, either a version 2 or a previous version? Wiring minds would like to know. Trying to make this even more difficult. We have a latch. That latch will allow this to come up, which will make this a lot easier to get access to and work on. What we're trying to do is just feed this wire down into this trough to keep it out of the way as this mechanism would move around. We're going to have to work with the wire because it does have some slight twists and bends in the channel. Sure that we're getting it lined up, keeping it from twisting on. I'm going to take the round end of this, try and use it just to push the wires in deeper into the channel. So they'll be fully seated, and there's a couple of little ears in the print itself that will help to keep things in that channel as well. I could have left myself a little bit black in case I unplug this. That, and I believe there was the encoder support wires over on this side. Huh. Apparently I tightened them, so as soon as I undid the latches, pulled out of alignment with the. There we go. Seriously, how is everybody's Friday going? Anybody got any good plans for the weekend? Excess wire, remove the wire from the channel and do the crimps. DuPont or JST will work. Test all the wires in the channel, then connect the encoder and close the. We've got it connected to the encoder. We're going to close the encoder door there. Just magnet place. I am not going to cut any wires because my assumption is one of the encoder wires in the channel, the wire. Cut the excess wires and connect the servo. Use two. All right. Okay, I got you. This is if we are using the cables over time. These should be home run all the way back. So M3, a couple of M3 by 8 flathead cap screws, which I don't remember seeing in either of them. Oop, yep, I got some. One of these is a big hodgepodge of. Help this out, and then we will make the rest of this. Okay. What my thought process is, I'm actually going to screw in my ends. Um, and then we'll build our chain as we're routing our cable. And once again, this is going to be easier to pop up to. Well, I guess I can mount it like this. Need to mount the one end from the underside up into the um, heat sets. And looking at the diagram there, it looks like I call them the outers and the inners. So this is an outie, which means when the cable chain connects, it goes inside this versus on the outside. That's how I kind of refer to them as innies and outies. Get these one flathead. Once again, we do have a cable tie here that we're going to run our cables through. Hey, Pete, how's it going? How are you doing today, my friend? Figured I was going to do an impromptu stream today because I needed to, at the very least, clean the table off. And if I was going to clean the table off, then I might as well um, work on getting some of this stuff cleaned up and ready to go. So I'm just going to bring these cables up here and we will cable tie these in place. To Need to see how far down this goes. Big contact there. That would be good. We'd still have clearance. Get these tied down, and that will provide our strain relief on one end. Now, how's it going, Pete? You having a good Friday? Now, what we are going to need to do is we will need to extend this because there's no way this is going to make it through the cable chain. We'll have to extend our servo wire, but our other wire is definitely going to have the length that needs to come down here. We will probably go ahead and try and extend this servo wire to the full length of this piece. We can cut this, we'll have to extend this, and I'm trying to think, I don't think I have any servo wire extension. Maybe I do. A little frustrating having a strange issue with the K1 Max. You can't get a straight answer on wiring CAN bus to the SKR3EZ. SKR3EZ CAN bus. What kind of question do you have? And thank you for the follow, Kelly. I'm gonna have to intermix these because I failed to put. I normally put a sweet and low in there, and apparently I did not for this cups. It's a little bit rough. How to hook up the wires from the EBB to the board correctly. Big Tree Tech is using different labels, so I'm not sure where to wire one of the wires. Oh yeah. I got the mug. I've been using it for quite a while. So I got this mug. Now what we need, so this has printer manufacturers on it, right? What we need is one that has a bunch of filament people on it too, like Polymaker and Greengate and Sparta 3D, 3DX Max, Xyltech, name it, right? That would be another one, is to have a version of this that has either filament manufacturers and possibly even like one that would entail like hot ends as well. Like E3D, Fadus, Slice, and all those. I was thinking about that when I was sitting here looking at this one when I first got it and going, it'd be pretty cool if we had the others as well. Okay, so I need to extend this. Let me see. I may have some extension because I know I bought some for the dragster. So let me look at my dragster stuff and see if I do have an extension cable. Do that real fast here. Dang it. I am not seeing any dedicated extension cables, so I will have to fabricate one. Now, I'm not sure if I want to get too deep into wiring today or if I want to keep pushing ahead and build what we can and get into the cottontail potentially. Simply because, yeah, I mean, I can get lost in wiring. And really, the big point was to, excuse me, would be to get this in something other than parts so I can put it somewhere. Yeah, and this is just showing you would bring your servo wires and your encoder wires over here, join them with your motor wires, zip tie at the end, and then we would do the wiring to the MMB, which will require us to get cottontail done because that's where our MMB is going to connect to. So with that, we are going to move this over onto, first off, let me get my cables a little wrapped up here. And I'm going to move this over to the workbench, the bench over here. Put that right there for the time. And we will grab some Enraged Rabbit Carrot Tail parts for the buffer system. I do need to make sure to keep track of this stuff. Not that I don't have plenty of these, but I mean, they have provided them, so we will use them. And I also have plenty of like locking DuPont connectors in this kit and a ton of other connector types. So we'll be good there. I think what I'm going to do for, well, dang it, we'll need these screws and stuff. I'll leave these out and I will dig into them as needed. Guess I should have put that one there. But basically, I'm going to stick this over there between the Trident and the 2.4 so it's out of the way. And we'll start putting together the Enraged Rabbit cottontail. So we'll have both of these pieces done, or at least not done, but we'll have both of them fairly well assembled. And that way we'll be able to clear off the majority of the stuff on the desk or the workbench tonight to make room for black box. Because as it stands, the Trident here, in fact, I can probably do that right now to make myself a little bit easier. This has to get moved over here and shoved underneath the desk so that I can pull black box out in the morning or later tonight. And this way, this is out of the way. And all of our ERCT stuff will get put over here so it's out of the way once we're done building what we can build. Now, one thing that it does not talk about on here, So this is the servo arm. We'll add the servo arm later. Talks about the filament management path. You know, the one thing it's not talking about on here that I'm going to have to figure out is the apron light, right? So we've got our, let me, into it. Um, so we've got our selector numbers here on this side. And then on this side, we've got where our selector would be going. So this would be the input side. This side facing the camera right now is the output. We should have lights, indicator lights down here. And I've got the parts printed out. And in fact, I printed out the diffusers for the lights, but it doesn't actually talk about how to mount those light pieces. I'm probably going to have to break into the CAD to figure that out. And quite honestly, lights, I'll say, are sort of an afterthought for this at the moment. Like lights will help with function, don't get me wrong, but it's not imperative to getting this up and running and working. So for now, we're good here. I'm not going to get into the basic wiring, even though I did put that in the stream title. Because like I said, it's all about bulk stuff and trying to get things off of this work table so that we can, and in big chunks so that it's easier to move around between the streams for me. So we did have a few extra parts here. These were extras. I printed small things like this out. I always tend to try and print them extra in case I wind up having one fail. I can just simply say cancel that one and keep going. And then these two parts are just tool parts, so these aren't going on and won't be needed. And then this piece is that servo lever. So this will be needed, and we'll just toss that in here for now. These are a couple of other tools. We will need this piece, and I don't know if it's used like right now or later, but this is an I know will be used. So these pieces are extra or tools. I will put them over here, I guess, with the parts from the lights for now. Just keep those separated and out of the way. Actually, I'll fit in here. These are the numbers that would go on the lane numberings, which I'm not sure if I'm going to try and put those small, tiny things on there or not. Okay, that's there. Wearing some belt. Now on the Enraged Rabbit Carrot, or I'm sorry, the Cottontail, it does have a different set of LED lights for that. And it's basically made so that you have indicators on basically all of your different pieces of toolpath. So we will probably do we will be doing the lights at some point. Hopefully I don't get myself into a corner where I have to tear things back apart. So this is our carrot tail buffer assembly. And it doesn't show all the lanes in here because it just depends on how many lanes you're actually building in. This is where we're going to start with. The buffer wheel, the support arms, coupler blocks, and then an arm mount. And this is how each one of these will be mounted to the extrusion from the underside. Of course, we'll have the nut on the end of our rod here, support rod for the buffer system, and the electronics box. We're going to have our arm group. We're going to have quite a few things to it. And I'm trying to think. Yeah, I may have another set of lane numbers to print out. Like another 2 sets of the lane numbers to print out. This is what we'll be working on, and I think we'll just basically take this and do it X number of times. So we're going to start with our blocks. We'll build these all at the same time. Now it says to print these in clear. Now, if I try and print them in clear, it's going to be like crystal PETG. And in order to try and print them clear or translucent, you have to go real slow. So these would take forever and a day to do. This might be why I would not use the LEDs as the indicators in this, just because it's made to shine the light through here. But we'll see. So we're going to start off with 48 millimeter piece of PTFE tubing, a couple of ECAS couplers, M2 by 8 or M2 by 10 self-tapping screws, because we will have a end stop on each one of these blocks. And I'm kind of curious that they didn't talk about doing the wiring for the end stops. This is just the exploded view telling us what we're going to do. That makes sense. Read through the instructions before you get going. So we do need to do some heat set inserts to start with. So we're going to need M3 heat set inserts on each one of our arm pieces. Don't know about that one. Each one of our arm pieces. Going to need a heat set insert from this side here. These are standard M3 heat set inserts. And then our mounting block will also get a heat set insert on each one of these. We'll get our heat press up here. We do have our M3 heat set insert tool on there. I'm going to grab a spacer block just because it'll be easier to keep this level and get a heat set in it. 100% there and stacked up. I'm sitting here trying to figure out like why is it so quiet and why aren't there a lot of people here? But I just realized Dune opening night is tonight, isn't it? Second installation or installment of Dune. So I've got to go and I want to rewatch the first version or the first part and then go and watch the second part in theater this weekend. Maybe that's what I'll do tomorrow after stream is just do a Dune binge and I'll watch the first one and then go to the movie theater for the second one. But for those of you that are hanging out with me, I appreciate you hanging out with me today. Like I said, I was going to be working on this anyhow, and so one way or the other, there will be the recording that will be added to YouTube and will sit on Twitch for a while as well. For those of you that didn't know, I do post all of my videos over to YouTube because they last longer over there. Twitch, unless you're a partner, uh, drops your videos after a certain number of days, and I can't remember how long it is. Last one. Okay, so last one of those pieces. Now we need the arm pieces here, and looking at it this way, around look at it like this. The first hole here is getting a heat set insert in it, and of course that's not a flat level surface because why would it be? Make things too easy. So basically what's going to happen is these two pieces are going to slide together. We'll have a screw that comes through this side that goes into this heat sink. Then there'll be this one will allow us to connect them together. making some progress. These should hopefully go together fairly quickly. At least until we hit the, okay, solder all of your thingamabobber and stuff. But we're gonna daisy chain the end stuff. It's gonna be like one common ground for all of them, I believe. One signal from. Hey zombie, how's it going? I hope you're feeling a little bit better. Just decided to stream a little bit because I was going to need to clean the workbench off anyhow, and I figured I might as well finish putting the actual Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder together, at least up until the point of wiring, and then we'll jump over and start putting the carrot tail together. Once again, at least to the point of time to start wiring. So, and that way, I need to I needed to clean and shift everything tonight anyhow to get ready for black box tomorrow. So tomorrow will be black box guide section 2, which is the Z motion system. I'll be working on, the Z axis for that and getting the bed and stuff put together, or at least the bed mount put together. I briefly looked through the manual and I probably need to look through it a little bit more in depth before tomorrow, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, so those are done. Now we're going to join them and use some M3x16 socket head cap screws to join those together. So, what do we got here? 12, 5, I had a bunch of screws that were loose in this bag. Well, different size screws in this bag. So I'm just going to try and go through and sort them out because I'm not sure I'm going to wind up using these ones or the ones out of the main part of the kit. Okay, we're going to start. We've got this piece and one of these pieces. We're going to slide the arms together like that. And an M3x16 screw is going to go down there. One of those. You've got a few loose screws? Yeah, I think we all do. Or at least all of us here in this community do. Zombie, did you see that Fadus decided to come out with 2 different versions of the Next G? They'll have the standard with a 104 NT thermistor, and then we'll say a black edition that'll have the coated heat break and hardened nozzle for doing carbon fiber and filled materials. I was like, great. So when are those coming out? Because, inquiring minds want to know. Yeah, yeah, because I'd really like to get my hands on one. I've got the version I have had the PT1000. I just don't have whatever that special heat break is, and I'm going to put a Fadus nozzle in it anyhow. A Fadus hardened nozzle in it anyhow. But it would just be nice that when I buy the next one that it comes with the full Monty to start with, rather than here, let me get the base model and then upgrade it myself. Okay, so all support arms and support arm mounts are assembled. What's up next? Axle and the wheel. So we've got our 2 nuts, because we always need 2 nuts. One nut will go on our wheel. At least I'm assuming so. Add a nut to the axle. Throughout a few turns to loosen it up from the fresh print and slide it into the support arm. Oh, it's all printed. Got that. Take one of our support arms, this through that, and preload an MR688 bearing to the buffer wheel. Press firmly to seat on the bottom. Those things. Got plenty of those. 08Z. 08ZZ bearing. This gets pressed in to the wheels. Two thumbs on flat table. Yeah, you're not going this way. We get it started on there, and then it's large flat. Large flat. Okay. Ugh. That is a RITI type fit. And I got it at a slight angle right now, so it's not. Hmm. I'm going to mute the mic for a moment. That's not working. So this is an 8. Um, don't have an M3 by 8. I mean, an M8. Oh, I have to stack them on top of each. Press fit it down. There we go. That's what we're trying to do with it, is just get it press fitted all the way down against the bottom. That one is. That seems to be the key, is to get it lined up and then use a second bearing to get us along. Zombie, how is have you done any more work on your tap changer? Or are you seriously still on hold on that? So now that we've got these in, we're going to take one of our buffer wheels with the bearing in it, slide it on our shaft, take it all the way down to the end there. Then we'll take one of our spacers that we printed. That'll go on. And then we'll just keep going that. So another arm, another wheel, another spacer. Arm, wheel, and another spacer. And these arms already have a spacer built into them, printed in. And we'll get these all lined up here once we get. Pretty easy stack now that we've got everything prepared. Okay. Got all of our buffers there. Slide the wheel with its flat side. Spacer, blah, blah, blah. Add axle. Oh, yeah, that'll be fun. We'll need to add our tag plates to these. And that's going to have to be done before we lock all these together. Darn it. And there's a tag plate on the back here as well as the front. So we're going to need to work on that because I did not print out the tag plates apparently. And I just dropped one of the spacers. Where did it go? Spacer went? No, I'm missing the last spacer. All right, gang, let me try and find this spacer wherever it went. I think it'd be pretty easy to find if it carpet because it's a completely different color. And it's a pop color at that. Oh, okay. That would be why you print extras. So when you do things like that, not at a standstill. But at least I know what I will be looking for later tonight. Okay, so we'll keep going. We'll need the coupler blocks. We'll need to assemble our coupler blocks, which will entail ECAS fittings. Good blocks. Sixteen of the little blue snap pieces. Okay. Cut up so make a mess. We need our couplers, and it says that you can either squish them in with a pair of pliers, or because this is not a very nice, here we can, here it's not a good place to catch on with pliers. We're going to have to do the old hand mash system. But I just realized, at least on this one, that hole is misshapen. I'm going to have to reprint at least one of these. One is all that we got, so that's good. So we'll work on getting these put together. Now these pieces go in pretty easily, and then really easy to use a flat surface to get them fully flat within their, or on the part. It's putting these blue things in that are a pain in the butt. Especially trying to do it without breaking it when this piece right here is literally spring. So you got to be careful on where you hold this when you're trying to get this piece in. Oh, why? Why are ECAS so hard? Oh, you were supposed to work on it this week? Okay. I'm going to go through and get all these put together. I don't know if these are easier to get in before you insert them. See if that'll be a little bit easier. That way I can use my pliers. Back parts squish. So let that out. That might be an easier way of getting these in there. All right. Found the easier way to get the ECAS. Basically take the black piece off, blue piece, then squish the blue piece together, gray piece, black piece on, and then squish the whole thing in the heart, which is now easier to get lined in and pressed down fully. Or should be. All right, so there's two. And if these were printed correctly, then they should also pretty much interlock with one another. They are. So these tabs will lock onto those tabs. So that'll make it, as we're putting these together and getting everything nice and tight. Very tight printed part there. That I may have just cracked. So I think I'm going to have a couple of parts that I'll have to print, so we won't be able to get this fully put together tonight, but we'll have it most likely to a part where I will put it together and be able to take it back apart easily so I can add like the numbers and stuff like that. Hey, Hobby Main, welcome on in. Welcome on in. And once again, we are working on our Enraged Rabbit Cottontail portion now, which is the buffer system here, and trying to get all of our ECAS fittings put together, which can be fun. And we've got one part that was improperly printed that I just noticed, and then another one that I just cracked the housing on, putting the ECAS in. So we'll have to, I don't know if I can get the ECAS out, but one way or the other, I'll have to reprint 2 of these. In fact, let me go ahead and get that started because I have the pink in there. The other lane that I need possibly replace as well. Yeah, welcome on in, Hobby Main. How are you doing today? Hope you're doing well. I was trying to figure out where everybody was at, and then I realized that today was opening day for Dune 2. I was like, that might have something to do with it. But I personally want to re-see the first episode or the first movie before I go watch the second one because it's been a minute since I've seen it. So each one of these lanes is going to have a sensor in it. So we're also going to have um, 8 balls, 8 whatchamacallit, 8 oh geez, 8 ball bearings and 8 end stops. Here we go. That would be the word. 8 end stops that will need to be wired up and soldered up and all of that. So we'll have to work on that as well. But the reason of tonight's stream was basically just to keep moving on the build to be able to get stuff off of this bench tonight and do it where I have fewer, small parts hanging out everywhere, because I've got to bring the black box build back up here, which is all of this stuff here in the corner needs to come up and out tonight so that we can do the black box second uh, second guide, which is doing the Z motion. So we'll be working on that tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And we'll go until we get it done, preferably. I basically kind of want to do a stream for each section of the guide, and that'll keep us moving right along. And so we will be doing the black box tool changer. Zombie is working on the tap changer. And Zombie, have you talked to Chris about the black box? Right now on black box, I am going to start off with 6 tool heads. Excuse me, 4 tool heads. Thinking 6 because I've got 6 of these only right now. Gonna have to reprint 2 of them. Here we go. Those on. We'll need 48.5 millimeters of 0.4, or excuse me, a 4 millimeter outside diameter, 3 millimeter inside diameter, aka reverse Bowden tube. Now, my question is whether or not this is actually set up to do that cut. So we're looking for 48.5 millimeters. That is 58. If I go this way, 53. Ay, 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 ay. Okay, so this is what we need here. Tubing. Where's the tube? Tubing. Is what they say to be the right. Like and no. Nice square edge. Are we working with them soon on it? Good. Now we need like 8 of these. Yeah, so far it's a pretty nice build. It goes together very nice. It's well, I say that so far, it's just been the frame, but other than finding out that um, the M4 nuts were primarily a bunch of M5s, which he does not even stock, which means it very much was a vendor issue. But he got me some out in the mail, and I got those back already, so we're good to go for tomorrow's stream. That's 8. Take our excess and get it back in our bag. And we'll be using some more of this later. This thing, yeah, we're just going to throw that away. Well, thanks, Lucas Player. I try. Yeah, I'll do what I can to work out the bugs. I'll do what I can. So, looking at our pieces, we're going to put them like this so that the end stop mounting points and the zip tie points are at the top, like this. And these are the holes we're going to put our newly cut PTFE tubing in. Now we still need to reprint 2 of these because we cracked one and we cracked one and one was a bad print to start with, kind of not round at all. We had a little bit of warpage there, so we're letting the printer heat up right now. I'm not sure if I can recover this ECAS fitting or if it's just better to say the heck with it and chalk it up as a loss. Probably be whether or not I cut myself trying to open or get this back out. Yep. We're just going to call that a loss. I got some spares anyhow, so we'll be good there. Can we continue? See what we can continue to do. Wiring sensors. First solder a wire of 26 to 28 gauge to the normally closed leg of each micro switch, matching the length for each gate to the table to the left. Last in is the gate closest to the MMB. Next, connect the common legs of each neighboring switch with a piece of wire 70 millimeters long. Okay. And then for the last micro switch, we'll make the long one. Gonna be fun. Got 7 gates. So we're basically going to make wire lengths of these sets, and that will be for each of the 1, 2, 3. Oops, down here. So we're going to need to make wire length at each of these measurements. So 110, 145, 179, 214, 249, 284, 319, and 354. And these will be the actual sensor pins that go all the way back. And then for the micro switch, we'll need a 70 millimeter long between each one. So we'll need 7 that are 70 millimeters long. And then another one that's 110 that will go all the way back. And so what will happen when I come over here to the ERCFA assembly is you'll see that each one of these, we're only plugging in the signal pin for 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 7 will have the signal and the common ground, because they'll all be connected. So all you're doing is shorting signal to ground when you're doing your end stops. So that's how the end stops are going to be put together for the pre-gate sensor, which will be in here. So we can start cutting a bunch of wire and doing soldering, which I don't really want to get into tonight. But unfortunately, that's going to have to be done. And installed before we start getting into here, because I think otherwise we're going to start. Make sure you follow the recommended links to ensure that the switches are not binding on the coupler block's upper sprung section. Drop a 5 millimeter ball bearing into each coupler and install each of the micro switches. Trim any extra wiring before crimping and plugging them into the Big Tree Tech MMB. Then we'll build these in order. So these things mount in any way, shape, or oh, okay, yeah, they do. They they line up on the side pieces. So each one of the arms here. So each one of the arms has those same printed tabs in them. So these aren't actually joining to each other. They're going to be joining into the arms here. Yeah, so this will mount on the Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder. This tube goes between the ECAS here and the ECAS on the back of the Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder. This is where we're going to be putting our ball bearings and our wired end stops. We're going to have to basically build this up piece by piece. And our filament's going to come up into the bottom ECAS, up through the top, around our wheel, and then out through the front to our uh, right to the Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder lane. So what we're going to need here is our lane numbers up here, our lane numbers back here. Now the nice thing is with this being a blue piece, I think the lane numbers can probably be done in the pink, so I wouldn't have to change the pieces there. But we're going to need to do some soldering, and I don't know if I want to get out and do. What do you think? Go for about another hour and maybe cut some wires and do some soldering? Because you use some 20 or 26, 28 gauge wire. Let me scoot this stuff over here out of the way some. Hopefully we can get these other two lanes put together tonight, but if not, put some of this stuff up. Just gonna threw the bag away that had this stuff, didn't I? You know what? We'll just do this. M3 by 20s. 12s. 15. Sixes. These are button heads. Just trying to put some things up and get some things put away for now, because we will be trying to work. Well, we will be doing some wiring here in just a second. I want to try and get some of this stuff out of the way, because eventually we're going to need to put things up and get ready for tomorrow's stream. You're here till 8:30, and then you're bouncing out to run your stream, correct, Zombie? Oh, now please tell me I didn't just put all of the end stops here, didn't I? Let's pull the package of end stops back out. These are M3 T-nuts, so we're just going to that in there. M3 T-nuts. Got enough room for those to go there. Get our soldering stuff out. No idea what these are for. But they'll just get delicately placed in here. Never to be found again. And we're going to need some 26 or 28 gauge wire, which I should have. Thought I had some right there, but I don't. I'm just going to grab a spool of my excess prep wire from one of my Lineo Voron build wire kit. And we'll just be using this to cut our wire to length for the size that we need. Nothing's over 300 and some stuff's over. This goes up to 300. I need. I thought I had one that was 385. Here's my other. Oh well. We'll do most of the measurements on this. And if we're long on a couple of them, we'll be fine. We get a couple of those lane blocks started. ERCT buffer, STLs, coupler blocks. And once again, the coupler blocks, they say to make them clear or translucent because you would have carriers those are just put in place that will fit down here, and you would have LED lights in here facing through here and basically illuminating your lane. Now, I will double check. The only way I'm going to do that is if I either reprint all of these in PETG, which I don't want to do, or something else. So I'm going to leave them this way. Because yeah, once again, that light will be at the back here. So I don't know what I guess I'm just not seeing how that would be effective to have an LED in here as this sits like this and is putting light in this direction. It doesn't make sense. Now, facing outward would make sense, but I don't know. So these are the LEDs I'm thinking I might not put in place just because I'm not sure what the value is of them. Other than to tell you that a lane is in use, or that maybe it's got an indicator to tell you that there's an issue with this lane versus that lane. I don't know. Oh, is Liz tonight? Gotcha. So this is the Z and Z show, huh? Okay, so I'm just gonna never figure out how to get the tape off of these, so I try and just push the wire out enough that I can then go in and get the tape, like cut the tape or get the tape started off. Turn it. Let me do a couple of things so I can move my stool over here and sit down because I'm going to need to sit down for this. It's going to frustrate me. And there's some wire in there. I'm not sure exactly what they want me to use that wire for, but it is definitely not 26 gauge wire, so I'm not going to use that at this point. So we'll sit down here and start figuring out. The first thing that we're going to need is 110. So 110, 145, 79, two 14, 49. Hey, make my Nexus, how's it going? How is it going, my friend? Where were we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 284. So all I'm doing right now is trying to get some wires ready. Next up will be 319. Uh, 300 first. Ish. Oh yeah, yeah. I did. I shaved. Um, I don't know why. Got a wild hair up, so I shaved. Mrs. Dragon's gonna get mad at me because I shaved after she left, though. So then the next one is 354. 54. Okay, so these are the one side of my end stops. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and do the one side, and then we'll come back in and do all the little joining sides. I think that'll probably make it a little bit easier. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All we need. Of course, we don't need the levers on them, so we'll take the levers off of every single one of them. Easier said than done. And if you always get a smattering of ones with and without levers, keep a few of these levers. You never know when you might need a levered end stop. And if you've got one, you can put these back on if you haven't winged them too much. Ooh. So I was trying to keep from getting into wiring tonight, but I guess one way or the other, I'll get into some of it partly. Darn it. But the plan was to basically get some things done so that it's off the bench to make room for Black Box tomorrow morning. Hey, Chris, how's it going, my friend? Yeah, we're doing a Friday stream. Well, you haven't been streaming, so somebody's got to fill the void. And Mrs. Dragon's not here, so that gives me an opportunity. We got all of our levers off, and we'll do something with those. Are way too much amount of heat shrink here. Going to cut these down so that we can use them more appropriately. I guess it would help if I then sent them to the printer. So we're down two of our couplers. One wasn't printed well, and then the other one is busted. I cracked it installing the ECAS fitting, so we're just going to swap those out. You have enough of the things there, and we are doing. So the long runs will go to the NC, and the NC in this case, it's weird because it's showing the lettering shows our switch over on the left side and our switch is on the right side. So my assumption is going to be that if I orientate my switch this way, this side over here away from my bump switch would be my NC side. And that's where I'm going to start securing all these wires. Now, it doesn't really matter what order I do these wires in, as long as once we start attaching them, that we attach them all in the right order, direction by length. With the shortest one, of course, being the last one in the chain, and the longest one being the first one in the chain. So we're going to go through and do um, the signal. We'll call it the signal side of each end stop, and then we'll come back and we'll do the joining side that will basically daisy chain all of our end stops to a common ground pin. That will be the plan here. So let me just get these stripped on the one end. Oh, nice, Maker Mine Nexus. Yeah, you're doing your temp tower to get things dialed in with the 0.6. We got here. Exchange for said money, you will send all the maker things. Yep. Yeah, I'm surprised that, well, I would say I'm surprised that Chris doesn't know what my payday is yet because I order from him so much. But it's probably because I order from him so much that he doesn't know what day my actual payday is. What's so special about KB3D? Um, he's KB3D. Or blue wire, and choke it a bit, it'll turn purple. All right, we're going to switch over to our other cup of coffee, and we're going to fire up the soldering iron. Get our Omni Fix over here, and let's start soldering up some wires. Now, the nice thing is I should be able to put two of these in at a time and do two wires side by side. Oh, what am I talking about? I get all these lined up in the same direction, verify they're in the same direction. So at a bare minimum, if I am wiring these up backwards, then I will easily be able to figure it out and they'll all be wired up the same way. So I won't have an issue there. Ooh. You finally got some coffee mugs on the way? Yeah, I'm still waiting on my hat because my other stuff's on back orders. Once that ships, I'll have a hat. So Chris, if you get your coffee mugs in before the linear wire comes in for you to ship my other stuff, can you just do a man a favor and throw it in there? Let me know and I'll order it so we're not continuing to ship stuff everywhere. All right, but I will go ahead and tin all of the outer pins while I'm here. Okay, like I said, it doesn't matter which wire I attach first or last or whatever. It's just we need to get them in order towards the end, and that's all we need to be concerned with. Once again, I'm soldering this to the right side of the connector, which is away from the little plunger bump stop part of the end stop switch. Wife got tired of asking me to reduce my mug collection, and eventually I got in the car one morning for work, and there were 12 on my passenger seat. Nice. Yeah, I've got several mugs. I've gone through we'll say I've gone through the let's get rid of mugs, and then I always get more, but it's I look at it as if I'm getting creator mugs, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Because you all support me, so I should be supporting you, right? But it's when you're just getting like mugs with just to have another mug. Like personally, I would like to get rid of all of the plain mugs that we have, but apparently, that's a requirement in the house is to have the plain mugs that you can use to entertain with. I kind of go by the theory of, well, if they if it's too comfortable, they stick around. If it's uncomfortable, people don't stick around. Especially when it's like family, in-laws. Like, oh, like what did I do with the rest of them? So you never put the most comfortable mattress in the guest room. My wife's probably lurking and cussing me out. Evil Diesel, how is it going, friendo? So now that I saw you and you're here, breakfast on Sunday? A geographic bachelor, so I need adult supervision or I spend money. Oh wait, we'll spend money together, so that and it's already too late. I've spent more money. But I'll say I had to because the DO droid is kind of on pause right now. The um whatchamacallit, the servos in the neck are too light. I needed heavier duty servos. So I did go and get some beefier servos Now it's just a matter of needing to get those in, reprint a few parts, and get those installed. Oh yeah, definitely remember Aberdeen Diner. They called that coffee, but I do not think that that word means what they think it means. Oh yeah, it was. It was. I have had tea with more flavor than that coffee had. Okay, so one part done. Now we just need to put our heat shrink on all of these. Please worry about the other ends a little bit later. Feels like you're stuck in neutral. Been there before. What turned it brown? Yeah. All right, we're gonna do the heathen way of drinking our heat tubes here. Just because I'm being lazy. And no, don't worry, Chris. I'll use the heat gun if I have to do electrical on the black box. I won't be this crude on black box. All right, go lurk, zombie. Go have fun with Liz. Tell her I said hi. We'll probably raid over to you guys a little bit later. All right, so these are done. This is my shortest one. These are my 3 longest ones. What I'm going to try and do is get these in order now as I lay them out. They'll be nice and like do the Chewbacca yell here in a second. You throw these back on here and do the heat shrink on these, and then we can go in and start doing the others. And on the others, it'll be all of them will be the same until we get to the last one, and then it will be a long piece. That'll make it a little bit easier because everything will be the same. Hey, Shenanigans, how's it going? Hope you're doing well, my friend. You're doing well. We're just continuing to work on the Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder. And we're over here working on some of the parts for the Enraged Rabbit Cottontail. Getting our parts ready for well, we're soldering on the one leg that will go back. That'll be basically the signal connection for each of the end stops. And then what we're going to do is link all of the, what we'll say is the common pin or the ground pin on all of these. A little bit of excess solder there. Oh, yeah, and then we'll come in and do the common grounds that will connect to all 8 end stops, and then we'll have the one that'll go into the controller board. It just simplifies the wiring and reduces the number of wires that we have. Okay, so we've got that part done. We're getting these lined up in length order. So let me think about this. I've got it shortest to longest lined up, and I need to go the opposite way. This will be lane 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lane 0. I'm just going to do a length check here on all these. Like I said, I'm kind of lining them up side by side, 4 at a time. I just want to make sure that the lengths are getting shorter each time. All righty. Now I need connect the common legs of each neighboring switch with a piece of 70 millimeter long. I'm going to need a bunch of 70 millimeter long pieces. Is there a link to this build? Look for ERCF and GitHub. Do a search for those. This is the Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder 2. So ERCF V2 GitHub. And it should bring you to the link. And if you give me a second, I know I've got it saved over here. So let me just pull up my browser real fast. Enraged Rabbit Chad Feeder. So there you go, shenanigans. That is the link. So you've got the Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder. So this is the actual filament changer, right? So the piece that we're doing now is the buffer system. So all the filament lanes would come into this backside, and then the filament will come out through the front through the selector. And the selector has an encoder switch in this front piece, so it can tell that the filament's coming through. So basically, we'll be able to have a sensor back here that says the filament's loaded back at the buffer. So if it runs out at the buffer, we get notified and it stops before it gets all the way down into the extruder, and we've got an issue, right? So we've got a sensor at the buffer, an encoder. Now the encoder's making sure that the filament's moving through the system, right? And then we'll have 2 sensors in the tool head, one before the extruder gears and one between the extruder gears and the hot end. And that's going to allow our Happy Hare software that will be part and parcel with Klipper to know when there's an issue and how best to handle the issue. So, okay, we've got one. We've got to do a bunch more of these 70 millimeter cuts. And the Trident that we're building had a 6-cart Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder version 1.1 hardware kit in it. So all I did was I went and bought a version 2 upgrade kit from Triangle Labs off AliExpress. And so we're using that to go directly and build the V2. One, two, three, four, five. Now here's where I go. Do we try and solder 2 wires to the same tab, or do we try and do like the break like we did on the previous one? We'll go ahead and do the 2 wires. There's 7 at the smaller size, but the 70, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we'll need one long one that's 110 millimeters. And that should match the same leg of the other small one. Now we've got to strip both ends of all of the trim both ends of 70 millimeter step wire, which by the way is really fun to do because it's so uh, slippery. Sometimes wonder if I just need like a new set of strippers that are a little bit more, that are sharper. I don't know. Off to work, huh? Well, be safe. Have a good day at work. These are just going to basically make big U shapes like you see there. You have some for, well, and I've got another pair over there. I ought to just give those a shot and see how well those work. Because I don't use these that often, and that would probably be why, because these only go to 20 gauge, so they wouldn't work for this wire anyhow. Oh, so you've got some for small gauge wire, okay? Uh-huh. Yeah. He's like, hey, I've got some things that'll work for you. It really doesn't take much though, Chris. Oh yeah, yeah. And I've been using the heck out of them. I've used them in every build. I was using them earlier today to get the blue couplers and the ECAS fittings without like smashing things apart. Yeah, I'm loving those Nipix pliers. The Knipix pliers. All right, now you see to go through and cut this down so that we can use this. This being the heat sink or heat shrink tubing that they provided. The end stops. Oh, okay. Back up here, make sure we get 2 pieces of heat shrink on these wires. Because we're basically jumpering one into another. Make our soldering iron back up. Try and tin the ends. Tin the ends and find the small piece of heat shrink tubing that I have already dropped off. Once again, we're just daisy chaining these together. I love how Steve Build does this. It makes it look so easy. There's that one guy that's making it's almost like it's a glove that's got a what is he referring it to it as an automated you know, an automated like dispensing system for solder. Kind of do this in here and this in because these two wires are going to the same thing. these two wires together. Like you got to try and get one at the bottom and one on the top. Seriously? All right, I'm going to make Eagle Diesel have to come over here and solder my wires for me. Yeah, you need a solder robot. Yep. Okay. Try and do this again without burning the crap out of myself. Because once again, trying to solder with 70 millimeter wire. Solder travels fast. Not solder, but the heat travels fast. Which one do you use? Okay. We're getting our heat shrink on as we go as well. Yeah, you keep burning yourself shaking, yeah. Is there another one ready to go? Now, these daisy chains are good ideas, but kind of pain in the ass in practice. Like I said, when I did them on the tool head, I had actually I just kind of moved the heat shrink a little bit down the wire. So I just kind of separated the the wire insulation at a specific point, which made it easier to ah, that was interesting. Try and do this again without dropping the iron and burning myself. Damn it. All right, me and this 2-wire thing is not liking it, not having fun. Especially since at least one of them came off. Yeah, there's definitely going to be the smell of burnt flesh here. Probably what I need to do is just use jaws to hold wires for the next set, and then to hold the pin stop and one to hold the wires, because that should hopefully get my wires to stay closer and tighter together. Because the issue I'm having is my wires are splitting and I'm not getting a good connection with either of the 2 wires. At least it doesn't feel like I'm getting a good get them to stay close and tight without putting both my fingers on it, burning the crap out of myself in the process. Better, be a little bit better technique to be using. We'll be here in a blink. When's the next one? Working on yeah. There, not think we're figuring out the technique now. It was fun watching me solder or watching me attempt to burn the crap out of myself. But the good news is I think I'm figuring out the order of operations here to make this a little bit easier. Bad news is I only have like one or two to go. Hey, thank you for the follow, Voron Noob. Welcome in. How are you doing today? We are having a blast here as we are trying to daisy chain. We're trying to daisy chain some end stops together for the Enraged Rabbit Carrot Tail um, filament runout sensors, filament detect sensors, whatever you want to refer to them as. What we are having to do is try and bring 7 different end stops together on for a common ground plane. We've been sitting here trying to get our pinning operations going and getting everything pinned and joined up, and then getting everything soldered together. This is where our OmniFixo really shines. This joins our um, last leg, which will be our longer 110 junction. Do this out. In. So, how you doing tonight, Voron Noob? You doing anything fun and interesting on this Friday night? And yes, I'm being a filthy heathen and drinking my heat shrink with soldering iron. But now what we have is a daisy chain of end stops that we will be able to connect in, and each one of these will come out with a single wire to um, the end stops. Like this will be gate 0, then gate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the 2 wires of 7 will go in and it will provide the common ground for all of the end stops that we've got here for the sensors. So we need to get these in place so that we can now start going in and doing some more assembly. Let me throw these back in there. I think we are done with our soldering for the time being. We'll scoot this out of the way so I don't burn myself with it, because I know myself. Well, I burned myself soldering. I'm pretty sure I'd burn myself uh, just having the soldering iron nearby. The Omni Fixo over there. Now what do we have? We did our wiring. Got those blocks put together. We did our wiring. We've got 2 blocks that we can't add just yet because yeah, this shows how your blocks get wired together on a common ground, and then the micro switch sense wire comes over. They will all plug in. We're going to drop a 5mm ball bearing into each of our couplers. Like I said, we're too short of the couplers right now. We've got those printing as we speak. One didn't print well and I didn't catch it. And then the other one, I cracked trying to put the ECAS fittings in. So I'm not going to try and live with it. I'm going to go ahead and replace it. I try and keep a few of these levers on hand because you never know when you get, you might need to take a lever off or you might need to install a lever. Either way, it's always good to have a couple. So other ball bearings in here somewhere. Where did I put them? Oh, got the ball bearings. Thought I put them in here. Oh, uh-oh. I done lost. No, there we go. I was going to say, I done lost my bearings again. How many more times can I lose my bearings? Okay, well, we're also going to need our M2 by 10 self-tapping screws. Means we'll need our handy dandy Phillips head screwdriver because we're going to need our self-tapping screws as well. Throw those awful. All right, Evil Diesel, have a good one. Tell the wife I said hey, hello, hi. Yeah, they talk about using the socket head cap screws. If I'm going to use those, then I'm going to have to use the ones out of my other kit. And the ones that we have here have these tiny Phillips head screws, which drives me nuts, but it is what it is. Okay, so we've got a block, we've got a ball bearing. Grab a ball bearing and hopefully not drop these all over the place. We're going to drop a ball bearing in there. We will take the end stop at the end of the chain that has the longest cable length, and we're going to line this up with the plunger of the end stop, covering up where the ball is. And then we'll need our M2 by 10 self tapper. We should feel that align itself. I'm just going to get started a turn or two and get the other one in there. Once again, making sure that it's finding its home in the pre-drilled hole. Not pre-drilled hole, but the printed hole. And we want to tighten this down, but be careful that you don't crank too much because you can crack the case. All right, so there's sensor number 1 installed. Now we're just going to keep going down the line and going on to the next coupler. Another ball bearing. And the next end stop in the line. Where it's lined up with the plunger matching the bearing. And 2 by 10 self tapper. Make sure it gets seated in the notch. Okay, and we'll find the next one. And we'll continue down the line. Ball bearing, our next end stop. Make sure that it's rotated in there in the right direction. Next ball bearing. Next end stop. Make sure that it's twisted in the right direction. Maker Mind, how'd your print turn out? Tell you that 0.6 nozzle with that ultra flow adapter, you can push some major filament with the next G. Next one in line. Yeah, I was running it with the standard stealth burner, so it obviously was not hitting in the right location, but it was still like going like gangbusters, you know? All right, last one that I can do for now, simply because I need to um, wait on those prints, lose my bearing. Damn it. Sorry, darn it. That was my last 2x10 that came in the kit, but I think I've got more in the base kit. I think flatheads. Oh, yeah, I do. Grab a few of these. One more over here. Like I said, we're in sort of a holding pattern on installing the other two until those prints get done and I can kind of assemble them. Can we do anything else in the meantime? Sorta, like start installing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder and I'm going to set it down. Ooh, wait a minute. Yeah, so this highlighted something for me. So I was thinking that the lights were facing inwards, and that was why these were supposed to be clear or see-through. But in all actuality, what I'm seeing is this is going to basically connect in this orientation, and that light, that LED, no, the light is going into the back of this. Those are just the solder pads on the back side of the light. Yeah, all the solder pads are on the back side, and then the LED comes out the front. Yeah, I'm not sure what these lights are for. I'm not going to use them. If I wind up having to reprint those blocks in like Clear Pet G or something else, because I really need these blocks for, we'll say, for troubleshooting purposes or what have you, then we'll do that. But the other thing I was realizing was on these plates here, there's numbers that slot in from the side. And if I put on more than one of these, then I won't be able to get these nameplates in there because there won't be enough wiggle waggle to really get those in there. So I need to print these number plates as well. And I printed everything that the guide told me to print. So I think I'm actually, yeah, I don't know. I must have missed something on the print, or didn't print enough of something somehow, but I need to print some more. Some more of the lane numbers. And since the lane numbers here are blue on pink, and these are going to be blue, I'm going to print them in the pink since I have the pink there. And I should be able to just run the number plates off real fast once these are done. So basically, I'm saying I'm kind of at an end stop at this point. We've got the main ERCT chassis here that we'll be able to set to the side, and we've got the cottontail that we've got sort of put in place that will start installing in the next stream on this, which should be Tuesday. Now I did drop a spacer, so I need to locate that spacer. But at this point, we are as far as I can go on the build tonight. Yeah, this is a pretty wild assembly. Like I said, we'll have the filament sensors, but what we won't have is the lights on these coupler pieces unless I go through and reprint them or figure out some other way of doing it. But for now, I'm going to go ahead, get things a little cleaned up. I think we're going to go ahead and raid out to our good friend Pez Liz. And we will come back and continue this build on what? Tuesday. I don't think I'm going to do anything on Sunday or Monday. I need to get caught up on a few things around the house. But we will continue this build on Tuesday. And we will, for now, just get all of this stuff put aside. And let's go ahead and raid out to Pez Liz. And then we will come back on stream tomorrow and go through the second section of the black box build, which is the Z motion, right? Z motion system. Let me see. What do I got? Go over here to the full display. Black box section 2. Yes, is Z-axis motion. So this is what we'll be working on tomorrow. Is the black box Z motion system, and that just means I need to get everything over here kind of situated, moved around a bit so that we can get the black box over here and get that going. I will move this in a minute because I want to find that spacer and then get the spacer back in there, and then I'll put the knob on so I can move this whole thing as one unit without, I guess I can put the knob on there, move it as a unit, just won't have the spacer. So we'll take this and set it over on the side. We'll grab the couplers and get them out of here, and then we'll come back to the black box build. Whoops. Oh, nice clean top. We'll do a little cleaning. We'll be able to get black box up here, ready to go. Now, once again, I've printed all of the parts and bag them by section. So I will be able to just grab that section, and dang, that means I'm going to have to actually start. I think I did the first 3 sections of the guide for the tools, the tools prints that you'll print out in PLA. So yeah, we're ready to go. Goes there, there. This will go over to here. Okay, folks, that's it. We're good. We are clean backed up, prepped and ready. Everything's shoved over here between the Kyber Dragon and Iron Dragon, so it's all kind of just sitting right up there. I'm gonna grab all this stuff out tonight and get things set up over here. Z-motion. Actually, Z-motion wise, we start putting things on the printer almost right away, or no? We got to get a couple of the Z blocks put together. We go away, so I can bring the printer. I can leave the printer where it's at and just get everything laid out and ready to go. Awesome. Cool. So thanks everybody for being here and hanging out with me tonight. I will try and get a few things printed and ready to go for the next stream for the ERCFA, which will most likely be Tuesday. Like I said, I'm not going to stream on Sunday, and Monday I might just take the day off and say the heck with it. And we'll be back to streaming on Tuesday. Okay, PLA at 240 with 56 millimeters cubed per second. Awesome. That's awesome, Dan. Tomorrow we're going to be hitting the black box and getting that going. Yeah, I think that's about it. Let me go ahead and get the raid set up here. Once again, we're going to raid over to Pez Liz if she's still on. She is. So thank you everybody for being here and hanging out with me again for another impromptu stream. I will get yesterday's stream and today's stream uploaded. And once again, tomorrow we're going to be back at the black box section 2 doing the C-axis motion. Thanks everybody. Come with me over to Pez Liz and have a good night. Bye now.